Hello, this is Brad Wild, and guess where we are? We are in Glasgow, Scotland. I have not flown in Europe since probably X-Plane 9, but I've got friends visiting Glasgow from the US, so I thought I would just replicate a flight that they are taking from Glasgow down to Heathrow in London to connect to their flight back to the States. And they just happen to be flying an A320, and it's an early morning flight. But before we crank up the engines, I thought we'd do some planning, including taking a look at what scenery is available for this area, especially the high definition stuff. So let's get started by looking at what X-Plane has to offer. So I found a map of Scotland in SkyVector. It doesn't contain any charts, no approach charts, but I do have world high and world low. So that's nice and convenient. But the question was, in my own mind, did I have the actual scenery from X-Plane loaded? And turns out I did not. So you have to fire up your installer, then click Add or Remove Scenery, and authorize your application, and then tell it where to put it. And then you select what areas you want. So I selected all this new and hit continue, and it began downloading the new scenery. I do like the high definition scenery from our folks at All Pilot, and you go down to the bottom of that landing page and you pick out the area that you want. And so I'll just go ahead and click that. Let's see. Oh, you have to select where you want to download it from. I just selected one of these. And then you'll see that it shows you the area that you are going to download and the size of it and so on. And be sure to follow the instructions on where to put the high definition scenery. It comes with a README file that you'll need to take a look at. How to plan a flight when I don't have charts? Well, thanks to Google, there are charts. So I count myself fortunate to find these old Jepson charts from 2010, and I'm just hoping they'll show up in my FMGC using the latest Navigraph. So we want to head to the south, and I'm just looking at some VORs. We got Dean Cross here. There's another one called Turnberry, New Galloway. One that takes us out to Tala. See what that looks like, that Dean Cross. So here is Dean Cross. It's kind of a straight shot, which is nice. And then there is a airway, the Uniform Lima 612, that takes us down to this VOR, Honley. And I'm just curious what Heathrow might have. So I did find another set of charts for Heathrow. These are from 2015, and you can see these are all northern arrivals. So I see here Daventry, Delta Tango Yankee. So I'm kind of curious if I were to fly down to Honley and then conveniently over to Daventry. Now I'm not sure what our final approach is going to look like, but let's go back to our chart and These are all stars, but what about a more detailed approach? I know I'm going fast, but I've cheated and looked ahead. So there's two of them that bring us around and approach from the east. So I'm going to transition here at BNN, Baker, November, November. And looking at our map here is that Bovington or Baker, November, November. Okay, back to the airplane. I've added a little bit of fuel, a couple thousand kilograms, so we can send our truck packing. Let's close our doors and get rid of our stairs. Hopefully the food is on board.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your chief flight attendant. On behalf of Captain and the entire crew, welcome aboard Out Airlines. At this time, make sure your seat backs and tray tables are
And
in
I
their
better
full
turn on
position.
my
Also,
flashlight
make sure your
here.
seatbelt is correctly fastened.
I do have ground
Also,
power,
we advise you that as of this moment, any
so let's
electronic
turn on our
equipment must be turned
batteries,
off. Thank you.
external power. I know I'll get yelled at if I don't take care of that right away. And we want to get some lights on, and then let's start our APU. This is to be on auto. Let's turn on a few lights here, let folks know we're busy, and arm my emergency lights. Let's turn on no smoking,
Ladies and gentlemen,
seatbelts.
the captain has turned on the fasten seatbelt sign. If you haven't already done
So
please stow your carry-on luggage underneath the seat in front of you or in an overhead bin.
you can see that our
Please take your seat and fasten
APU
your
is
seatbelt. And
up
also
and
make sure
running.
your seat back and folding trays are in their full upright position.
So let's turn on our
At this
bleed
time,
and our
we request
packs.
that all mobile phones, pagers, radios, and remote control toys be turned off for the full duration of the flight. We remind you that this is a non-smoking flight.
And then let's get our
Smoking is
ADAROOs
prohibited on
going
the entire
here.
aircraft, including the
Turn to
lavatories.
status,
Tampering with,
system
disabling, or
1,
destroying the lavatory smoke
these
detectors is
3
prohibited by law.
to nav.
If you have any questions about our flight today, please don't hesitate to ask
And
one of
then
our
when
flight
we're
attendants.
asked,
Thank you.
we will enter our position. There we go. And time to navigation, 7 minutes. So that's cooking. Let's get some other lights on here. And we can turn off our ground power. Now it's time to deal with our FMGC. So I've got the latest database in here from Navigraph. So let's click init, and we're headed from Echo Golf Papa Foxtrot down to Heathrow, which is Echo Golf Lima Lima. And we will align the IRS. And I'm going to go ahead and put in cost index of 45. Not going to worry about a flight number right now. Then our fuel. Complete that panel. And now we can head over to our flight plan. Let's put in a departure. We're going to be headed to the northeast. And I was looking for, what was it called? Dean Cross. And I don't see Dean Cross anywhere here. So what other options do I have headed south? I think there was one called Turnberry, if I recall correct. And we have Turnberry 3. And we will, let's see if it does indeed route us to the north, or there is a southern route as well. So down to Turnberry. There is not a transition. We'll insert that. So that gets us to Turnberry. So I'm not sure what waypoints we'll need to fill in, so let's put in our approach to Heathrow. We're going to be landing on 27 left, and now we need to pick our star, just as a reminder. That is going to be BNN, and it's going to be BNN, or Baker November November 1 Charlie, which is the one that comes off of Devontree. So hopefully that's in there. Here it is, 1 Charlie, and I guess our transition will be Baker November November. And we'll insert that. So we don't have any waypoints between Turnberry and Devontree. So here's Turnberry, Dean Cross, down to Honley, and over to Devontree. So we've got 2 waypoints and an airway here. Sorry, needed to Delta Charlie Sierra. And click insert. And then we want that airway that we're going to pick up there, which is Uniform Lima 612. And that takes us down to Hotel Oscar November. Insert. And you'll see it fills in a whole bunch of waypoints. So let's just see if there's anything between those two. Got Honley and Devontree, so there's no other waypoints to insert at this time. So I can clear my discontinuity. Clear, click, insert. So we should be good. Let's step through our flight plan. So there's our takeoff. It has us going to the south. And I assume this is going to be Turnberry. Yep. And then down to Dean Cross, Delta Charlie Sierra. Then a series of waypoints along Uniform Lima 612, the airway. And then we depart that airway at Hotel Oscar November. And then there's the Baker November November VOR. Whoops, I'm sorry. That's the Devontree one. I believe this is going to be Baker November November. Yes. And then you can see how these waypoints Conditional waypoints have been added that get us into Heathrow from the east. And flip this back to ARC. So that takes care of our route. So we need to handle our performance. Simply click these, transition. They have it at 6,000 feet. That must be European. I'm not that familiar with it, to be perfectly honest. Put in our flaps. And you'll see the trim setting itself. And we'll use F55 for flex. And the last thing we need to do is put in a cruise altitude. I will put in 32, a flight level 320. Will it take that? Yeah. Alright, and then Delta, I'm not sure what the call sign is for Delta. The beauty of simulation, we don't really have to have it nailed. And I believe we are now set to go. Runway 5. So now we can get our pushback. I'm looking at my trusty checklist here. We can do our fire tests. And now we can call our tow. I'm using a new one called BetterPushBack, recommended highly by a friend of mine, Steve. So let's check that out. Alright, we're ready to try BetterPushBack. So I've got a hotkey, but just so that you can see how it works here. I want to back up. And I'm clicking, and then that's not right. Try delete again. Alright. Getting the hang of this. So this will just back me up and turn me to the east.
Ground to cockpit. Plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
And that is a BetterPushBack talking to me. And while we are waiting, we can dial in our altitude here.
So connected and bypass bin in service. Release parking brake.
Release the brake. Alright. So he will start.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
And here we go. So let's start our engines.
Starting engine 2.
And we can see it coming up here.
Starting engine 1.
Engine 1. And we'll put in 2 notches of flaps.
Flaps 1, flaps 2.
And we'll arm our spoilers. And we go ahead and turn on our transponder.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Set the brake.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Still waiting for him to pull away. There he goes. We can turn off our APUs while we're waiting. And we're aligned and ready to go.
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Have a nice flight.
And how about a taxi light?
Park brake off.
By the way, all this is default scenery. It's just what comes with it. Pretty nice. Alright, well join me in a minute at the end of the runway. Couple of last minute chores. Max brake fan, and let's get some lights on. Oh, and let's turn off our packs for takeoff. And set our speed to 20 over V2. And start our chronograph. And we're ready to go. My parking brake's been acting strange. Alright, flex power. See it
Power
on
set.
FMA here.
Knots.
Seems like a very slow takeoff roll, but or a short runway.
V1. Rotate.
Seems like the nose came up a little early there.
Positive climb. Gear up.
So packs on. And notice level climb is flashing. And we can begin our
Autopilot 1, cross-check. Speed checked, flaps 1.
was a little off course. And spoilers disarmed. And we can increase our speed. I like to control it somewhat.
Speed checked. Flaps 0.
Sun coming up as we turn to the south. The landscape is so different than the States, where everything's lined up north, south, east, west. And we can turn off our brake fan. And let's just go for 250 now. And we can increase our range here. Funny little dog leg there. And we can turn off our nose lights. Leave our landing lights on until 10,000. Oh no, I'm sorry. Looks like a transition is 6,000. Gotta get used to the European way of doing things.
Standard Barrow cross-check. Passing flight level 060.
And I'll press the button over here and see if we don't start climbing again. Yep, there we go. Clouds are courtesy of SkyMax Pro. Not a very thick deck. And we'll just keep climbing. Not sure what happens at 10,000. Probably need to read up on my regs. And you can see Turnberry here. So we are at 10,000 and it's now picking up speed, so pretty much as in the States. And we can kill our landing lights. And now it's just a matter of completing our climb. And we are coming up on Turnberry, just 7 nautical miles. So we'll go back to our chart. So we're about ready to make this turn right here and head towards Dean Cross. Here goes the turn. Beautiful morning clouds. I must say that the JAR A320, haven't tried the 330, but this aircraft is definitely well rendered, very immersive, very stable. It's a joy to fly this airplane. But I understand from my friend Steve that the 330 is likewise, but it's a little bit big for me. I like the shorter flights. So we've got a bit of climbing to do out over the Scottish English countryside. Not sure where we're at right now. And I can see our top of descent coming up. You see the broken arrow just coming into view at the top of the ND. So let's touch base then. Alright, we've just reached our cruise altitude a little bit sooner than I had thought. So we can let people roam around. I don't have my clouds extended out too far because it takes a big hit on the frame rate. So we have a whole bunch of waypoints here just lined up nicely. But we're on the Uniform Lima 612 for quite a while. So we are somewhere in here. We're coming up on Lakey. But here are all these waypoints here. And we head all the way down to Hunley. So I'm looking for some target altitudes for our descent, just thinking ahead. So here is our final approach chart, and we've got our Baker November and showing 7,000 and then descending on down to 2.5. And if we look at the actual approach plate for the runway, this is 27 left. And we're looking at 2,500 feet. And I'm just noting the frequency here, 109.5. So we'll probably come back to this as we get closer. So this is the part of the flight where I pull up X airports. Wonderful app that gives you a sense of where you are in space. Here's our plane. It has charted our route. So we are south of Manchester. Stoke-on-Trent. And then we begin our approach into London. And we fly right over the city into Heathrow. And here's our top of descent. We should get a little bit of a notification from our first officer. That we are close.
We are close to top of descent, sir.
What can I say? So I'm going to go ahead and dial in 3,000 just to be sure. Zoom in a little bit. So we are approaching our top of descent. So I'm going to go ahead and wait till I get the little forefinger as opposed to the hand. There you go. And then I click it. And immediately we begin our descent. The engines spool back. And now I just wait to see if we need any drag.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the seatbelt sign.
Right, we just passed, we're passing through 16,000. Coming up on Whiskey Charlie Oscar. This is our 10,000 foot mark, and this is where we begin our approach phase. I was asked for spoilers.
Spoilers half.
I think we can back up a little bit now. So at WCO, we were to be at flight level 13 or 13800. Radio 109.5. I'll just get this ready to go. And you can see our approach mapped out nicely. Suppose we can zoom in a little bit. And we can turn on our landing lights. And have our flight attendants have people put away their large electronic gadgets. So this is our 10,000 foot mark. And our speed is going to drop to 250.
Spoilers retracted.
Maybe I should leave
Spoilers
them
half.
extended. Get our speed down faster. Now over Baker, November. I have this view set so that I can see my MCDU as well. I can hear my engine spooling, which means I can
Spoilers retracted.
retract those spoilers. I can turn on my ILS button below 10,000. I'm just going to go with the standard. If we look at our flight plan, you can see a series of these conditional waypoints that just help us to see that we are descending accordingly.
Approach phase activated.
So we could have pressed that ourselves, but so that means our speed is going to start dropping, and as soon as we get to the what is called the green dot speed, we can add some flaps.
Spoilers half. Spoilers full.
So this looks like the airport. We head towards central London. A little hazy this morning.
Spoilers half. Spoilers retracted.
You can see our localizer bug and our guide slope.
We need more drag, sir. Spoilers half. Spoilers full.
So you can see our guide slope bug moving up as we fly away from it. I'll click my approach button.
Autopilot 2, cross-check. We need more drag, sir. Speed checked. Flaps 1.
You can see our localizer coming around. Guide slope coming down.
Speed checked. Flaps 2. Spoilers half. Spoilers retracted.
You don't want spoilers and too many flaps. So here's the Thames.
Spoilers armed.
And we can turn on our brake fan. Auto brakes, I'll put to medium. So my missed approach is 3,000 feet. We are about 8 miles out. Go ahead and put the gear down.
Gear down.
So if you looked at our PFD, you can see that our localizer guide slope bugs are nailed.
Radio altimeter alive. Speed checked. Flaps 3.
So we are nicely lined up with the runway.
You've just been cleared to land at Heathrow Airport. Please make sure the left
Speed checked. Flaps full.
So our PAPI lights are even, red and white. So next we're going to look for land green.
1,000.
Glad the lights are still on.
400. 300.
Looks like we're just a little bit off center, aren't we?
200.
100 above.
100. 50. 40. 30. Minimum. Retard. Retard. Retard.
Ground spoilers.
Retard.
To south.
Retard. Retard.
First green. 70 knots.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Prime Airport. As in the article, we have shifted around to recline. On behalf of our airlines and the entire crew, I'd like to thank you for joining us on this trip, and we are looking forward to seeing you on board again in the near future. Have a nice day.
A little fast here.
Flaps 3. Flaps 2. Flaps 1. Flaps 0. Spoilers armed.
Well, almost didn't stop there. All right. Thanks for joining me on this flight from Glasgow to Heathrow. Until next time.